Hello and welcome to the latest installment of PSG Talking. I'm your host Ed, and on today's show we're talking all about PSG's 2-1 win over Arsenal that secured the club's place in the Champions League final. That is a cause for celebration. We go ahead and crack open a celebration beverage here. Before we get started and get into all the details, let me thank all of you out there who have subscribed to PSG Talk Extra Time on Substack. We really appreciate your support. Hope you enjoy the content we've been putting out. If you haven't, hope you consider doing that. It's $5 a month, $50 for the whole year. You get bonus podcast episodes. We got some columns as well. We should have another pod out later this week with JJ or Robin. We'll have talk more about this win and even look ahead to the big final against Inter Milan. All right, joining me today, we have two guests. I'm pleased that they're here. You've heard them on these airwaves before. Of course, you know Marc, Damon, and then we've also got Greyson Lee. Gentlemen, we're going to skip all the pleasantries because we got a lot to talk about. This is a big day. We're in the final. Unbelievable. I want to get right into this one. We're going to get into all of the major moments in the match, so try not to get to that right now. What I really want to just know is, and Marc, we can start with you. Tell me about your viewing experience. Where were you? How are you watching this one? What was your freak out level? Were you just off the chart? Tell me, how did you take in this match today?
Well, first of all, we do want to say hello to everybody. You sort of undersold that a little bit, Ed. This is a massive occasion. I mean, PSG are in the Champions League final for real.
I got a beverage. I cracked it open.
Yeah, well, and also you didn't tell me we were going to be drinking on this show. So I guess we're drinking on this show tonight. Greyson,
we're going to allow just this one. Yet?
I am old enough to drink, but all I've got is a water at the moment.
Okay. So I'm not going to say specifically what I was doing while I was watching this. Let's just say it was on my phone and I was in different places doing different things. I would say the biggest sort of freak out moment was that Fabian Ruiz goal when I was driving in the car. That was a pretty I haven't screamed that loud in a while. So I kept it on the road and kept the car going straight. So I would say I'm pretty proud of myself, to be honest.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
That was a very crash the car type of moment right there.
We're gonna get into that goal because you are president of the Fabian Ruiz fan club. Greyson, where were you? I know you're in school. Were you in class at this point, or were you at a home? How did you take in the match?
Well, school was out for summer, so I got to enjoy this one at the house with a couple of friends, and it's a good thing for them that we won because they would have seen a side of me that is not very pleasant. Yeah, I really enjoyed the match. Good viewing experience. Two friends who are neutrals. My good buddy who's an Arsenal fan who actually owes me a meal after this. We bet some lunch on it. Was not there. He couldn't handle the pressure. But yeah, I mean, I lost my mind mostly, which is a rarity at Donnarumma. I mean, the last couple matches he's been insane. Some of those saves had me up off the couch acting a fool. And usually the Donnarumma freak out for me is him making a bad pass or making an error. So this is, I mean, it was excellent to see that from him.
Let's get into the first talking point, gentlemen. Ousmane Dembélé on the bench. In my preview article on Substack, I predicted that Dembélé would start on the bench. I thought it was the safest decision. Ultimately, PSG get through, so I think you have to say that it worked out. Let's talk about the decision, how we thought Barcola performed. I thought he was kind of mediocre, but again, at the end of the day, we advanced. So Marc, what did you make of the decision to leave Dembélé on the bench for this one to start?
I mean, if he's not going to play the full game, you have to decide whether he's going to start the game or whether he's going to finish the game. And I sort of thought, like, you know, is he actually really healthy, or are we just sort of saying that he's healthy and, like, you know, bringing him on in an emergency situation? But it seemed like this was more or less just, okay, he's coming off a hamstring. We don't want him to really injure it by going 90. We'll hold him off for the first 60 minutes of the game. He did come in, like 70 minutes into the game, something like that. It was between like 65 and 70 into the game. And he did play, and I didn't really notice him very much, but it really wasn't the kind of, at that point in the game, it really wasn't like, it wasn't like an Ousmane Dembélé type of game at that point. Like
he did get the assist for Hakimi's goal.
He did, but you know, a lot of that was a lot of Hakimi just being, you know, really good. I mean, I'll give Dembélé credit, but that was just a hell of a strike in that situation. But yeah, like once you got that Hakimi goal, I think it really, I think they played it right. Like, Barcola was good enough. Was he great? No, but he was good enough. He defended. He didn't, he wasn't turning the ball over. And he's a good player. Like, I have no issue having Bradley Barcola start games. Like, he's fine. He was really good at the beginning of the year, and he's defensively responsible, which is what you can ask of a guy, even if he's not in top form. If he's playing defense, then that's at least a plus. Like, he wasn't a negative tonight. So, I think I think they made the right decision.
Yeah, I thought so too. I mean, at this point, you're hanging on to the 1-0 lead. You don't need to really get forward and score that many goals. You just want someone who's going to work out there, make the right decisions. And I think he did have a couple decent chances, half chances, and ultimately didn't find the breakthrough, but I thought he played well. Greyson, you've probably been a fan like Mark and I have for long enough where we remember a muscle injury, years ago would have left a player out for 6 months or something. And so maybe it's just that in the back of my mind, which is why I was like, I don't want Dembélé starting in this match because I was just worried we could lose him for the final. So that was kind of my thought process. But what did you think about the decision to leave Dembélé on the bench for this one at the start?
I think it worked out about as well as it possibly could have. I mean, he does come on and he does play 25 minutes, including the added time, the extra time. And I mean, he gets some minutes on his legs. He gets an assist literally 2 minutes after he enters the game. So you can't really ask more of him, even though mostly that was on Hakimi. But yeah, it reassures us that the injury is not terrible. I don't think Enrique would have sent him out there when we're that much up if he wasn't ready to play. But I think Barcola, I think he adds that layer. His floor is very, very high. And the worst you're going to get out of Barcola, maybe he does miss a chance or loses the ball a couple times, but he's always going to be defensively sound, like you guys said. He's not terrible in the air. He's like 6 foot, 6'1", usually wins a lot of headers, and he did tonight as well. It's just a presence in the box when we're defending against, an onslaught of crosses from Arsenal. And he also gives us that stretch feature. I don't think that the fullbacks pressed as high as they would have if Barcola wasn't on the pitch, because there's always that threat that he's going to just run the whole field, kind of like he did against Strasbourg at the weekend. So it makes defenders wary. He also chips in defensively. He's decent in the air. And Dembele's injury is not really anything I'm too concerned about. So I think it actually kind of worked out perfectly.
And I think that this was really underscored how well this team's been constructed, that all three of us, I think, can agree. Oh, yeah, maybe we prefer Dembélé to start, but if he can't go, if he's got a little bit of a muscle pull, we got Bradley Barcola coming off the bench. We've got a really solid group of attackers that are interchangeable. Not only on the pitch can they overlap and all, but if a guy can't go or if a guy's suspended, we're really happy with who can come in and step in for them. Whereas like a team like Arsenal, they are just crying out for a number 9. They want more attackers. If they lose Saka, I don't know who's going to be scoring the goals for them. So I just think that Luis Campos and Luis Enrique really put PSG in a really good position. And it's a far cry from years ago where if we lost an attacker, we would really be upset with that. So let's think in the first half. Kvara had a really nice shot in the first half that hit the post. Of course, it wouldn't be a PSG game without them hitting the post. Doué had sort of a half chance, but then it was in the 27th minute, Mark. It was off a free kick that PSG scored.
Are we gonna talk about the first 20 minutes of that game, or are we gonna?
Oh, you know what? Sorry,
I skipped it. Could talk about the first 20 minutes of that game before we get into the goal.
This is me being overzealous, wanting to get to the goal. I had this question in there and I skipped right over it. So, Mark, thank you so much. Let's talk about that opening. Opening few minutes, because Arsenal really took it to PSG. They had all the possession, all the big scoring chances, but it was Gianluigi Donnarumma saved PSG quite literally. Martinelli had a chance off a corner that I'm still not sure how Donnarumma saved. I'm not sure he knows. There was that long throw in that eventually landed at Odegaard's feet, and he hit that ball about as hard as I've ever seen a guy hit a ball. And Donnarumma gets down and he makes a save, and you could hear that just smack off of his gloves through the TV. And so, Mark, talk about the start of this match, and more importantly, talk about Donnarumma once again. Unbelievable.
That was the strategy I think that Arsenal were really trying to get to in the first match and couldn't. And I think there's something to be said about a team that's not confident enough in their in their infield play where they have to try to force crosses and corners every time they get a free kick. Like pretty much every time they had an ability to throw it in the box, they did. And that was really kind of annoying and I actually think counterproductive in the first leg. We talked about that last week where I think they went too heavy into putting the ball in the box. But this situation was different because you start a game, you're down 1 on aggregate. You really want to get that first goal because it really turns the tie if Arsenal can get it to 1-1. And to attack them early, to attack PSG early with crosses and free kicks and corners and throw-ins. I mean, they had at least 4 throw-ins where they threw it right into the box in the first 15 minutes of the game. You rarely see that in football anymore. Like this felt like 70s, 80s, 90s football where, any chance you had to put a ball in the box, you'd put one in the box. And part of that was because they had Moreno back playing striker. Thomas Partey comes into the midfield. And it was very clear, I think, that Arsenal were more comfortable playing this way with Partey and their midfielders pressing the ball and really not allowing PSG to get possession for really the first 15 minutes of the game. Like, I'm pretty sure PSG crossed the midway line maybe 3 times in that first 15 minutes. It was just Arsenal would put a ball in the box, PSG would try to clear, Arsenal's midfield would get the ball back, they'd put another ball in the box, PSG would try to clear, and it was just this cycle where PSG were not able to get out of their own end, and their fullbacks were pinned back. And Hakimi and Mendes are really talented all-world players, but they're not the best at being in their own end and trying to clear the ball. It's not what they do best. So Arsenal were really able to take the initiative in that first 15. And yeah, Donnarumma saved them, but that's what good goalkeepers do. Like that's what you pay a guy to do in that situation. Like it's a weapon. It's a legit weapon. And I think sometimes we, when people say, "Oh, we would have won the game if it wasn't for how good the other team's goalie was." Yeah, a goalie's part of the team. He wears a uniform.
100% agree.
He has a number. Like, just because your goalie's not as good as our goalie, that's a you problem. That's not an us problem. Like, and that Odegaard save was just tremendous because that really was the chance. I think the Declan Rice header was about about a foot wide. The Martinelli was sort of a deflection in the box, sort of went off his leg. Donnarumma was in the right place positionally, and he made that nice reflex, kick out with his knee to get that ball away. But that Odegaard save, that to me, if that ball goes in, the momentum that gives you when you score a goal like that, and you saw, the way it gave PSG momentum when Fabian scored a goal like that, if Odegaard can put that in, you're in like the 12th, 13th minute, you're tied at 1, it's been all Arsenal, and now the doubt starts to creep in, and I think it would be reasonable for the doubt to creep in at that point, because Arsenal were really executing their game plan as well as they had the entire time. And when Donnarumma makes that save, it's like one of those situations where, if that one doesn't go in, what's going to go in tonight, right? Like, I think even Declan Rice said it in the postgame where he's like, we dominated the first 20 minutes, and if one of those chances goes in, that game might be different. And that's true. That's objectively true. But you get a player like Donnarumma because of his ability. It's game-changing, right? Like, he changed the game with that save. He kept them in it, and those are just like an impact goal, just like a strike from 30 yards out, just like a major defensive play. That play, that save, that save, I think, righted the ship a bit.
Yeah, I think Arsenal had a very PSG-like game, right? So how many times have PSG come up against a goalkeeper that just is making all these unbelievable saves? They're hitting the post, and then Saka late in the game had a chance to score again, and just wide open goal, and he skies it over the crossbar. So Arsenal chanted their inner PSG from maybe earlier in the season, but man, that save on Odegaard, you're right. That was the chance. And if they're not going to score that, they're just not scoring. In fact, that shot was hit so hard that Donnarumma, it looked like he was kind of holding his shoulder or his pec or something. A little bit of injury, and I can't blame him. And if he couldn't stay in, if there was a real injury there, I think we would have been in trouble. Greyson, talk to me about Donnarumma. Unbelievable performance.
Sure. First, I wanted to touch on what you were talking about with the throw-ins. What it really reminded me of is that vintage Stoke City. I mean, obviously, Arsenal's a much better team than Stoke City, but I
Is it
remember
Rory Delap? Is that the guy?
Rory Delap. That's what I was about to say. Just absolutely just chucking it in the box and hoping for the best, and it often worked out. And it almost worked out for Arsenal tonight without Donnarumma making that incredible save off the Odegaard shot. I mean, in my living room, we all stood up and were like, how does he get to that? And how does his wrist not break? Because, I mean, the power behind that shot was absolutely insane. But, yeah, very Rory Delap-esque from Thomas Partey. It was not something I watch Arsenal games occasionally, and that's not a part of their game that I'm like, oh, that's really going to hurt us. It's more the set pieces that scare me. But yeah, I mean that was definitely a factor tonight, and I mean we did not concede a set piece to the best set piece taking team in the world. I think that considering how we feel about how bad we are usually on set pieces, that's a win in and of itself. I think that gives us confidence for possibly the next matchup, which I'm sure we'll touch on later. But they're also very good at set pieces. And so the fact we were able to keep them out, mostly due to Donnarumma and some good defensive work from mostly Pacho. He was winning everything in the air tonight. It gives me great confidence going into the final. And I think this is probably, I want to say the best Donnarumma performance of the season, but it's really hard to choose. I mean, he was in sensational form against Liverpool in the second leg, not so much the first, but, things happen. And he was great against Aston Villa as well. He's really saved us a couple times. And he's a player that we've doubted. We've said maybe Lucas Chevalier should come in. I know I've said it, mostly due to
Guilty. I'm
the
guilty.
play with the feet. Yeah, who's not? I mean, I can't say that the guy hasn't made some terrible mistakes and he hasn't saved some shots that he should have. But in recent games, it's hard to say that he's not been the best goalkeeper in the world. Maybe that's a crazy statement. Maybe Courtois, has a shout. But to see a performance like that when it mattered most, without Donnarumma, he gets injured, something like that. We have Safinoff in goal. I mean, we saw him warming up when we thought Donnarumma might be hurt. If Safinoff's in net for the past, month or so, or I mean, we're not in the Champions League. We're watching from the couch, two different teams. So it's fantastic to see him coming into form at the best possible moments.
Yeah, and I just want to say on
Sure.
Donnarumma, like that's the skill though that you need at this. When you're talking about what skills do you need to win a competition like this as a goalie, right? Like you're just not going to be a champion. You have to have the shot stopping, right? Like any great goalie that wins a championship, you have to have the shot stopping. And yeah, is Donnarumma great at his feet? No, but you watch a game like that, and how many plays did he have to make with his feet? Like honestly, like he barely touched the ball with his feet at all in that game. Like his job was to stop the 3 to 4 excellent chances that Arsenal were sort of inevitably going to get, and he's been doing that. Like what chances? Look, he's been almost flawless for the last 2 months. And I don't think any other goalie PSG could have would be able to do what he's doing. And it's a real weapon. And you're going into, we'll talk about the final. Jan Sommer is a very similar kind of player in the sense he's much older, but great elite shot stopper. And you're going to have to, go toe-to-toe with Jan Sommer because he's going to make some great saves. And you're going to need a guy on the other end that's going to respond and make saves as well. So I just want to say that. And I also want to mention that I never went off the Donnarumma bandwagon. I was always there. Even when it was very lonely and I had a lot of room to walk around the train and stretch my legs, and I was there. I just want to make everyone aware I was there, and now I get to be now I get to just sit there and enjoy everyone else being there with me.
I'll give you that. You're absolutely. I never heard you say a bad word about him, to be completely honest.
You got to post the Vince McMahon walking GIF and just say that you never got off the Donnarumma bandwagon. I think you got to post that. All right, guys. Now let's get into the Fabian Ruiz goal. Mark, you can pick it up here. I mentioned you're the fan club or the president of his fan club. You say always talk about how important he is to this team. Talk about that goal. The ball, it was off a set piece, a free kick, and Thomas Partey, he just wasn't able to clear his lines enough. The ball just bounces and sits up perfectly for Fabian Ruiz. Just puts his laces through the ball, beats David Raya. Unbelievable. I also love that our goals were pretty impressive. Like, we didn't have a goal go in off of like someone's butt cheek. Like, we put our laces through the ball and scored like real goals. I'd love to see that. Anyway, Mark, talk to me about this goal.
So I'll leave a lot of this to Greyson because I think, I don't know. I just look at, I don't have that much to say except it's just, he was magnificent tonight. Like, I don't even, honestly, the goal was awesome, but like, that wasn't the best thing he did. He really wasn't. Like, he was I think he was the best midfielder for PSG tonight. I really do. I think he stood up to the physicality of that game when you had, Partey and Rice that were just relentless. They were really relentless in their midfield tonight. And Fabian Ruiz was, when the game was not going well, he was the guy that kept his head, that was, that was winning the ball, that was clearing his lines, that was making the right play. And for the last, I'd say 5-6 months, he has been the most, again, he's not spectacular. He's not the sort of metronome that Vitinha is when it comes to passing volume. He's not the kind of flashy player that João Neves can be at times, where he just makes those wow plays at you. This was more, everything he did was correct. Every play he made was correct. Every tackle he made was correct. He was in the right positions. And sometimes when you're a player like that and you do everything right, the ball falls to you in the right situation. He chests it down to create space and then just laces through it, power shot. Raya's got no chance. And I mean, that guy earned that moment. Sometimes you talk about I talk about like you earn the moment. And when you earn a moment like that, it really makes it sweeter. It's his first Champions League goal in his career. And the old cliche, it couldn't have come at a better time, right?
And he had played in 40-some goals. I'm trying to remember the stat that they said on the air, but between Napoli and PSG, I mean, he's been in a bunch of these, and they were like, you just witnessed his first goal, and what a goal it was. Unbelievable. Greyson, talk a little bit about Fabian Ruiz. He's just a solid player. He's not flashy, but he makes the right play, like Mark was saying, and just rewarded for all of his hard work and his great play. This season, he was great in the Euros, and he popped up when we needed him. Unbelievable. What do you think about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mark made a good point. It wasn't just the goal. He didn't really make a mistake tonight. You occasionally see a pass from a Fabian Ruiz or a dribble attempt that you're just like, oh, what are you doing? You kind of hold your hands up. You're like, okay, you were good for 89 minutes, but that one mistake, it just comes at the wrong time for him. But tonight, he was battling against two extremely strong, extremely tall physical midfielders in Partey and Rice, and he did not look out of place. He, in fact, looked like the strongest out of the three, which is not something I would have put money on before the match. I mean, 3 out of 3 ground duels won. That's not something I expected from any of the PSG midfielders tonight. Even João Neves, who I believe is underrated physically, especially for his size. But yeah, he was everywhere, and that's very impressive for a guy who we know is not that fast. I think I could beat him in a 40-yard dash, and I am not that fast. I mean, everything he did tonight, for the most part, was perfect. You wouldn't have changed really a thing about his performance. He was helping defensively. He, of course, got the sensational goal, that volley. When you see Fabian cock back for one of those, usually you're like, well, that's probably going over. But this was vintage Euros from last summer type of Fabian finish. I mean, couldn't have hit it better. Raya had no chance. I think Raya's a great goalkeeper, but I don't think prime Manuel Neuer is getting to that one. Yeah, he was sensational tonight. Completed most of his passes, created a chance. I mean, you're not going to find a better Fabian Ruiz performance than that. I thought our midfield in total, even including Vitinha with that penalty miss, which I'm sure we'll go on to later, but him and João Neves especially, him and João Neves were everywhere. I mean, putting up tackles, interceptions, just causing players to end their runs forward and maybe have to turn and make a pass. That's not exactly going to be shown in the stat sheet or the ratings of a player, but it makes that big difference if you're ending a forward run like that. So I was really taken aback by Fabian tonight. I think he's been great over the past couple months. I've had my doubts about him, as I think a lot of people have at times. Barring Mark, you were right about that one again. I'll give you that. That's two bingos for you. But yeah, I mean, over the past couple months, he has been sensational. I think he's key to the way Enrique wants to play. I think at times we've been like, is Warren Zaire-Emery the better choice because of his pace advantage over Fabian, how he eats ground, he just runs over everyone with that strength. But I think Ruiz, I don't think we'd also, kind of the way we spoke about Donnarumma, we would not be in the final without a player like Fabian Ruiz. He may not be flashy, he's not fast, that's for sure, but he does what he's supposed to. He doesn't do anything stupid for the most part. And I think for midfielders, kind of you want those 7 to 8 out of 10 performances night after night. You don't need a 10 and then a 4, As long as you're consistent, you don't do anything stupid, eventually you'll be rewarded. And I think the goal was a great example of that.
Yeah, and I just want to add, sorry, it's just I want to add that PSG have been looking for this type of player for years, right? Like they've been looking for that third midfielder. I guess the better way to put it, right? That third guy,
like Thiago Mata,
who's not not even like necessarily that, but that's not a superstar. That's just a connector that just holds the whole thing together. That's what Blaise Matuidi was back all those years ago. What you were looking for in Blaise Matuidi, and then they tried it with Leandro Paredes, and that didn't work. And they tried it with Ugarte and Idrissa Gana Gueye, and that didn't. There would be games where Idrissa Gueye would have like a 10 out of 10 and just be the best midfielder on the field, and you'd be like amazed at it, and then he would not show up for the next 3 weeks. Like, this is a guy who just is so consistently solid. You need that in a midfield. You can't have 3 superstar midfielders. One of those guys has to be the connector that fits all the puzzle pieces together. And that's what Fabian does. Vitinha is sort of the metronome that keeps the offense on schedule. João Neves is the one that, makes the wow plays and the assists and the tackles and does all of that. Fabian just sort of fills in the gaps where those other guys, you know what I'm saying? He just fills the gaps. And you need those kinds of gap fillers in midfield. And he's just one of those guys, and he's so smart, and he understands what he needs to be, and he doesn't try to be any more than that. And then when you get a situation like that where the ball falls to you, he makes a play. And that goal really put Arsenal, it really took away a lot of what Arsenal were trying to do. Because even if at that point they had gotten a goal, you'd still have to get another one, and in theory probably still would have had to have gotten a third. So once PSG get that first goal, it's now a matter of PSG holding their nerve.
I think that's absolutely right about Fabian. I mean, you see all this PR by all the big pages for João Neves and Vitinha. You see, the Portuguese maestros, this and that. And I think that's absolutely right. I think they're sensational. João Neves is probably the signing of the summer. It's hard to choose for once. I mean, the 3 sensational signings, no shade to Safanov. But you're right. He is the guy who does the things that you don't necessarily pick out in the highlights of a match, but sometimes he just makes that run back post that drags people away, like in the first goal. against Arsenal in the first leg. He kind of drags the defenders away, leaves Guevara wide open. He does the things that you might not notice until you take a second look. And we couldn't have won the tie without him. Absolutely not. I agree.
Now, I think it would be great social media content for PSG once they come over for the Club World Cup. If they come over here and they actually let like fans race against Fabian Ruiz, because I've said that I'm faster than him, Grayson. I think you've said it. I'm sure other people on social media. So it should be like fan versus Fabian Ruiz. Who can win a 40-yard race? That'd be pretty incredible social content. We've talked a little bit about this, so let's just get into it. Halftime comes and goes. And then Hakimi, he gets forward. He plays like a little 1-2 with Doué before getting a shot that was saved. And then play goes on. We don't really think too much about it. And then all of a sudden, the referee kind of stops the game. VAR gets involved, and a penalty is awarded because that shot from Hakimi, it ended up grazing Miles Lewis-Skelly's hand, which was, I guess, not in a natural position. That's what they determined. And so they gave the penalty. So, Grayson, let's start with you this time. Do you think the decision was fair? And also, did you think it was a little odd that the referee almost seemed apologetic that he was giving the penalty?
I think the apologeticness, I kind of get it. It is very, very unlucky. I think Miles Lewis-Skelly is an insane player. I think he's going to be great. I'm tired of all this. Oh, he's the best left back in the world chat from Arsenal fans. You're so delusional. What are you on about? Like, that's ridiculous. Nuno Mendes exists, and so does Balde. But that's not where we're going with this. I think it definitely is a penalty. I think it's kind of one of those where it's like, well, that's why we see defenders tuck their arms when they, stick out a leg to try and block a shot. That is why you do that. You avoid having your arm in an unnatural position, which his was. Yeah, I mean, he didn't know anything about it. I don't think this was intentional. I didn't even see it happen. I figured, oh, that went off his leg. Raya saves it. Big whoop. When they actually took it to VAR, before they showed the replay, I was like, oh man, they're going to give a penalty for Arsenal. Saka got pulled down in the box. Happened right before that. I think I haven't gone back and seen that replay because they didn't show it during the game. But I'm assuming there was not much in that because I don't see, anybody on any social media going, oh,
Yeah.
we got robbed, this, that, and the third.
I'm sure they're doing that on Arsenal fan TV. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm going to avoid it as best I can and try not to get flustered. But yeah, I mean, I do think it's a pen. I think it's rather unlucky, but that is just kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. We didn't end up, I'm sure we'll talk about this in a second, we didn't end up scoring from this. But
Yeah.
I mean, Hakimi's work, he's on the left side. He's a right back and he's playing left wing at times. That guy has an engine like nobody's business. He gets a good shot off. I have no idea where that shot would have gone. It kind of looked like it was going far post. Raya does very well to react, to get back and down low. He's a very impressive goalkeeper. I think he actually, take FootMob rankings with a pinch of salt. But I think he actually had tied with Ruiz for man of the match on FootMob. But like I said, that doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things. But I thought he did really well to save that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark, thoughts? I mean, was it a fair penalty? And then Vitinha's penalty shot.
I'm gonna pull us back a little bit and then come right back to the penalty. I thought PSG's last 15 minutes of the first half were very good. I think they were able to sort of settle the game back down, and then I think the first 12 to 13 minutes of the second half were good. And then you started to see Arsenal get a push. Like around the 60th minute, you saw Arsenal, because they had really been kind of quiet for a bit of a stretch after that Fabian goal. They pulled it back and they looked dangerous. And there was a chance in there, and I think it was before the penalty. Saka's really I thought Saka was at times really dominant against Nuno Mendes. Like, I thought Mendes did not have one of his better nights. And there was a moment in there where Saka gets it on his left foot and puts just this beautiful curler right. It's going right in top corner. And Donnarumma gets his hand on it. And I think that really was the last gasp for Arsenal in that game, really, where they had an opportunity to get back in it. I think that save, that was the sort of shut the door save. And if you can go back, if you even look at I don't even know what minute it was. I think it was somewhere in the 62nd or the 63rd. It was in that range. And then you get the the penalty, which was against the run of play, right? Like Arsenal had the better of the play during that period. And it's just sort of a weird bounce off the hand, but it's absolutely a penalty. I mean, if the Presnel Kimpembe one in 2019 was a penalty where he's not even looking at the ball and he's jumping in the air with his arm out like a chicken wing.
Great point.
If that's a penalty, then one where the guy's arm is completely outstretched in front of him and he hits it with his hand, that has to be a penalty. And whatever, reluctant or not, you gotta call that. It's just it's what it is. And I think I think Vitinha's a really talented penalty taker, but it was almost like wrong place, wrong. It was like wrong place, wrong time, kind of, in the sense that I think sometimes you just want a guy to just bury one in the corner. Just 90 miles an hour in the corner, right? Don't even give the goalie an opportunity to save it. Vitinha's penalties are about deception at the point of the kick, right? So it's like, okay, he gets the goalie to lean and then he just scoots it the other way. This was just a bad penalty because it kept Raya in, and Raya guesses right, and it wasn't hit with enough pace to get past him. So, like, I think penalty taking can be situational like that. And I think, you know, Vitinha is their best penalty taker, so I can't argue with it too much, but I almost would have rather like Hakimi go up there and just bury one, or Desiree Doué go up.
Put on your tinfoil hat. I got a conspiracy theory. I think Vitinha, he's like, I don't want the Champions League final this way. I don't want people saying we only got there because of this bogus penalty. So I think he purposely just kind of scooted it to the right so that David Raya can make the save. And I think that's just how cold Vitinha is. So I'm not losing sleep over that. We can
buy that.
Yeah, why not? Let's go with that. But PSG did get a goal. So in the 72nd minute, once again, for Arsenal, it was their main man, Thomas Partey, who lost the ball. And then Hakimi capitalized with a brilliant goal, a striker's goal, if you will. That put the aggregate score at 3-0. And then the party, no pun intended, was officially on. Greyson, what did you think of that? We mentioned, I think it was Marc said, Hakimi is a right back. He's popping up over on the left-hand side. He's scoring striker goals right in front of the goal there. And I mean, he was everywhere. After the game, he was asked about it. He's like, credit to the manager for giving me that freedom to kind of do what I do best, and, take the advantage of my talent. So, and then before the game, Hakimi was very just praising the project and all of that. And I said, Hakimi deserves just as much credit for this rebuild and this project as anyone for sticking around, elevating his play. And then we see it tonight with this amazing goal. So talk about the goal, talk about Hakimi's performance.
Sure. I wanted to touch on the penalty real quick. I have my own theory. It's not as tinfoil, I will admit. But I honestly think we've seen Vitinha take 2 penalties like that this season. And I mean, obviously goalkeepers and goalkeeper coaches are going to sit down and say, okay, assuming this tie goes to penalties, if they score one, nobody scores again, or we both score twice, or we score twice, they score once, whatever. And we make it to this penalty shootout like we did against Liverpool. I'm assuming they're watching game tape on Vitinha's penalties. He's usually our penalty taker, if not Dembélé. And they know that he's going to do the Neymar-esque slow run up, wait for the dive, slot it in the corner. He waits and waits and waits, and that's not a very Raya thing to do. I've seen him on penalties this year. He had the great save against Atalanta at the first match of the Champions League, but he has gotten a lot of stick for diving way too early on penalties, and players know that, and so they usually do wait a little bit, and not necessarily do a Vitinha thing, but maybe wait that extra half second before taking their pens. And so I think those two things combined to say Raya knew that Vitinha takes his penalties this way, and maybe he does just wait that extra 1-2 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but when you're taking a penalty this way, your heart stops in the moment, but that is almost the entirety of the fluid motion of taking a penalty. And so I do think he waits that extra second. That's how he's able to, I do still think he guessed right, but he was able to get there, and Vitinha didn't really know what to do, because once you're up against the ball like that on that slow walk up, it's really hard to generate power from like that standing position. So I think that's just great behind the scenes work from the goalkeeping coach and Raya to really know what was going to happen if they either gave away a pen or made it to a shootout. So I don't necessarily blame Vitinha too much. I think he kind of panicked once he realized this guy's not diving. But on to Hakimi. He was sensational tonight. He did get beat a couple times, as we know he can. Kind of reminded me of when he had to go up against Coman when we played Bayern. There were just a couple times when he got burnt. He is very, very quick, but so is Martinelli. Martinelli burnt him a couple times tonight, but overall sensational performance. He did have the most tackles of the match, which you don't really think of when you watch him play. But if he's always getting attacked because they know he is the weaker defensively of him and Nuno Mendes, they are going to attack that side more. And the goal is sensational. Dembele puts just enough on it to where he can take it first time and puts it right in the corner. It almost reminds me of Dembele's goal off of a Hakimi assist where it's just laid off and they're able to put it in a position where the goalkeeper has absolutely zero chance of saving it. It was a sensational strike. It's very odd to see him get two very close opportunities in the box in kind of the left-sided region. We usually think of him making those overlapping runs on what was Dembele, more a Barcola/Doué zone now. But yeah, he popped up at the right time in the right spot and had a sensational finish. The guy is incredible. I'd say there's an argument to be made. I'm not going to make that argument, but I'd say there's an argument to be made that he's maybe been the best player this season, the most consistent. There's very few times I leave a match and say, wow, Hakimi was not very good tonight. He's played a ton of minutes. He's been extremely resilient. Really no natural backup. We've been throwing Warren Zaire-Emery there from time to time, or even João Neves, but he is a crucial part of this project. He really doesn't cause any drama. He doesn't talk crazy in the media. There's no rumors of him leaving like there were in the summer when Mbappe left. So it's just great to see that our players now not fakely praise the project, but genuinely buy into it. And I think he's very grateful to Enrique for the freedom granted in the system, because it's kind of changed him from a great player to the best in his position in the world. I don't think there's any argument that he's not this season.
No, 100%. It's going to be, yeah.
I'll make the argument. He's their best player.
I agree.
I don't think it's, I think it's, you know, Ousmane Dembélé clearly has had an amazing season, and Vitinha is very good, and they're a team full of really great players. But I think for what he does for that team, he's their best player. He's their most valuable player by far. Like, I don't think if he gets hurt in any of those ties, I don't think they have a chance in hell. Just
totally agree.
They cannot replace him.
There is no replacement. We have no backup.
There's no backup. Like, there's no, you know, Dembele goes out, you could bring Barcola in, and he'll give you something. You know, if even Fabian gets hurt, Warren Zaire-Emery can go out there and put in a shift and give you some effort. You can't replace Achraf Hakimi. He's irreplaceable. And I mean, it's very obvious. I think that he's the next captain when, you know, if and when Marquinhos eventually moves on.
We're going to get to him next.
I think Hakimi's clearly the next captain, and it's his team. Like, he's the face of the team in his own way. And that's hard to say for a right back to be the star of the team, but like, his ability to be the engine. And there's times where, like, you know, PSG's offense doesn't look the best, and it's like, just give the ball to Hakimi. Let Hakimi do something. And he's the guy that I go and I say, give him the ball. If we need to score, if we need to really like settle the game down or get a counter, whatever you need the guy to do, he's going to do. And he's going to do it at a high level because he is the best right back in the world. And it's pretty funny that, you know, Real Madrid had to go get, the second best right back in the world because they couldn't get the best one. And, you know, PSG have that guy locked up for the next, 4 years or whatever the heck it is. And I hope he's a player that ends his career. I hope he becomes, a PSG lifer. He's that good. And he's a special player. And to be able to just score a goal like that as a right back, like, seriously, like, that's insane. Like, that's a that's a curler into the top corner, and I think, Greyson, you were referring to that third goal against Stuttgart where Dembele does something pretty similar to that.
Yep,
And
that's the one.
and it's amazing that you talk about that, right? Like Ousmane Dembele and Achraf Hakimi have pretty much a similar striking skill set. Like they can both do that goal, really? Like how do you defend that? Like that's the difference. Like when you talk about the inverting of the fullbacks that Pep Guardiola perfected, I don't think he ever imagined that the fullbacks that he's inverting would be like have striker level quality finishing ability. Like that just throws the whole thing into a completely different. And then again, go back to first leg against Aston Villa, Nuno Mendes, the goal he scored, the third goal of that game. This is an insane ability that PSG have to invert their fullbacks and then have those fullbacks be striker level goal scorers when they get in there. That's just no other team can do that. And it presents a matchup nightmare to whoever it is that you're playing because there's no way you can sort of keep track of who's where. And you can't, it's not like you can put like center backs on Hakimi to prevent him from doing that. Like it is a matchup nightmare.
It's why I didn't understand why Arsenal was like, oh, just wait till we get Thomas Partey. And I was like, oh, the guy, a good player, he plays in the middle. It's kind of like not what PSG's strengths are. It's down the wings and with them kind of overlapping. And so I just back everything you just said about Hakimi. He's one of one. I don't think there's any other player that can do what he does in defensively, getting forward, scoring. He's one of one. He's absolutely going to be PSG's captain. He's only 26. He's entering his prime. He's going to be in his prime at PSG. So we just need to just embrace him while he's here, enjoy everything he's going to bring to the team. But this summer, I think we need to sign another right back just to give him a little bit of a break. He put a lot of miles on the tires this season.
Couldn't agree more. And plus, the AFCON is coming up, I believe, next year. So we're not going to have him, even if he stays fit the entire season. We're not going to have him for
and World Cup
possibly
too.
a month and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to need to sign.
An interesting target for that. I know we're not touching on transfer news. I was kind of impressed with Doué's brother on the weekend. I know he gets burnt by Barcola, but who doesn't every once in a while? The guy's rapid. But bring in the Doué. We'll have two brothers in the team, and then we'll take Teo or something like that. We'll play him left wing. Who knows?
Two Doués. I love it. Okay, a little transfer news there. All right, we're getting towards the end of this game. Arsenal, okay, they pull one back. It was Trossard. He got the best of Marquinhos. Yeah. And go ahead, Mark.
I just want to say, like, that could have been called a foul on Trossard, depending on the kind of game, depending on the ref.
Mm-hmm.
I'll eat a little crow since I've been getting the plaudits today from my Fabian and Donnarumma deal. Marquinhos was absolutely fine tonight. He was good, and I still think at the end of the day you're going to have to get you're going to have to get a younger right center back. But I mean, he carries all the weight of those failures on his shoulders. He's the only one really, because Kimpembe is basically a cheerleader at this point. Marquinhos is the guy that carries all of that. And for him to go out there, be solid, didn't really make any mistakes. Him and Pacho are a good pair. And I just have to give him credit. Like that he's the veteran on this. He's the old warhorse that's, that the captain, maybe this is the last year, and he's going to have a chance to sort of, think big picture. He's going to get a chance to sort of win it for all of them, if that makes sense, right? All the guys he ever played with, all the people that came and went in the project and could never get it done. Like and maybe I should have given him more grace, because he really does carry all of that on him. And it was really nice to see him have a good game tonight.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with them not calling a foul, like you said. We've seen that given in the past, but at that moment, I was okay with it. It gets the better of them. Saka scores, and I think like what you said, I thought it was a decent game from him. I think the early chance from Declan Rice, I think he got the better of Marquinhos, and so every game where he does play well, there's these little flashes where you're like, I could have. Maybe a more physical defender would have done better. And so I do think we're coming to the end of the road with him. And this would be great as a last hurrah if he could win that trophy. For him and all the other Thiago Silva, even though Thiago has gone on and won it with Chelsea, like just win it for all the guys that have come through, Greyson, any thoughts on that goal from Saka or thoughts on Marquinhos in general?
Marquinhos, I think you guys know by now, I love the guy. Absolutely adore him. I think he is what we should be looking for in the future for what does it mean to be a PSG player. You're going to stick around. You're never going to throw in the towel. You're not going to be in the media talking crazy. Maybe he's not the most vocal leader that we see on the field. More of a lead by example type of guy. But in that locker room, I imagine he's the person that people look up to if they need advice about, hey, I'm a kid. I'm João Neves. I just moved from Portugal. I'm only 19 years old. Maybe he took people like that under his wing over the years. We don't necessarily see everything that goes on in the dressing room, on the training ground. Just seems like the type of character you want to have around your team. On the goal itself, I think it's kind of 50% of the time that gets called for you, maybe 60. It is a little unfortunate. I think I'd be a little bit more up in arms if that was more game-changing than it was. It's a little frustrating.
Did they play advantage? Because when Marquinhos went down, he definitely handled the ball. Did they play advantage? They did. Did they play advantage?
I don't know if he played advantage. I'm not 100% sure.
Something should have been called there. If not advantage, then it was maybe a yellow card for Marquinhos. Maybe, I don't know.
I'm glad they didn't, because it probably would have been a red, because that's
what I'm
clear
thinking.
Denial, and then he's not there for the final, and you got Beraldo starting. Love Beraldo, but I don't really want that to happen, But yeah, I think that gets called 50-60% of the time, and it's a little bit unlucky. It didn't really cost us that much. A little frustrated we didn't keep a clean sheet against Arsenal in 2 legs. That would be sensational. But yeah, there is a hand to the back. Is it enough contact? I don't know. Should he have definitely just kicked the ball away if he thought he was going to fall? Does he lean into it a little bit? Could he have stayed up? These are all questions that we're probably never going to have answers to. But I'm seeing all these rumors of. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm cutting people off. I'm just so excited. It's just such a grand
I don't blame
occasion.
you.
No, I just want to say, and I'll just really quick. I think PSG after that, they looked a little. I don't know how. Like we watched Barcelona last night. Just crap the bed when you have a lead in a Champions League semifinal, second leg, with like 5 minutes to go, and they're like bombing up the field, and they're just giving up a one-on-one in the box. Like I saw that a little bit in that goal that they gave up to Saka, and I'm like, okay, let's we don't need to have to win this thing twice. Like, we've already won it. Like, we don't need to give them anything. And I think they corrected after that. And they really didn't give. I don't think Arsenal really had anything of any significance after that goal. So they learned their lesson from that that unfortunate mistake.
Saka did have that chance where he was. Donnarumma was out of position and he just skied it over the crossbar. But you're right. After that, there was nothing.
But that was before.
Oh, was it before? Okay, sorry.
That was well before. That was in that run, like when it was like I think that was before, right? Greyson, was that before or
I thought it was after the goal because they
was
had scored.
After about 4 minutes.
There was a lot going on. Was that okay? That was after. That was all right. Yeah. After that point,
yeah. They shut it down.
I think a PSG team of old, maybe when we've gone out, crashed out against all odds sometimes, I think maybe another more fragile PSG team that's not as much of a collective does crumble under that pressure. But I'm really, really glad we held on to it. That'd be pretty bad if we lost from that position.
What's crazy is this team, I believe, collectively, their age is under 25. It's like 24 in however many years. Like they're the youngest team to get to the final, I think, to win this semifinal.
No,
Yeah,
they were
Marquinhos is bringing that up significantly.
of the
What's
four.
that?
Yeah, of the four, they were the
Yeah,
youngest team in
that's
the
what it was.
competition still.
Yeah, that's it.
And
Yeah,
because Marquinhos has been in like 100 Champions League matches, they were like the most. And that was that. You want to talk about skewing the average? That might be the most skewed average type of thing I've ever seen in my life. Because there's no way those PSG should be the youngest team and the most experienced. No, that's all Marquinhos.
And
Yeah,
what's
it
crazy
really
is
is.
like Arsenal have been at this rebuild for what, 5 years that Mikel
Well,
Arteta's been there. They've been building towards this, and PSG are just getting started. And you would never know it looking at over the two legs. I mean, this PSG just, I think, we're the better team. I don't care what Mikel Arteta says. I
No,
mean,
yeah, that's just cope. That's
yeah,
just pure,
that's yeah,
just we're coping. That's all that is.
yes,
And if I can be indulged for 2 minutes,
yes, please.
I think the difference is that I think Luis Enrique is a much better manager than Mikel Arteta. Like I just think it. I think that's pretty obvious to anyone like watching like these two managers go at each other. Not that Mikel Arteta is bad, but he's a good manager. Like he's a solid manager. Like Luis Enrique is one of the 5 best managers in the world right now. Like,
yeah,
I'd
I'd
I
agree with
think the
that.
difference really being that Luis Enrique got this team with the talent that they already had in place. They had Hakimi and Mendes and Donnarumma and Vitinha were already in place. So there's a lot of guys that were already in place that allowed the rebuild to be quicker, right? They weren't starting from complete scratch. And they were able
True.
to sort of fill out the roster the right way. And I think with Arsenal, I think they're still in that position where they're like, there's a mix of older guys and younger guys, and they haven't quite like turned the team completely over to those younger guys yet because you still have, like it was just. I think it's definitely I think it's definitely a an exercise in that the Arsenal experiment sort of has a ceiling to it. I think it's very obvious that you're finishing second every year. You couldn't beat City, now you can't beat Liverpool. They're getting a little bit closer in the Champions League, but they still don't have those elite level goal scorers. They still don't have those elite level playmakers in their front line. Like you look at their front line, right? All these years of rebuild, and you're going with Trossard, Mikel Moreno, and Bukayo Saka, who's a great player. But Bukayo Saka is the only one of those guys that would even sniff the PSG roster.
Agreed.
Right?
100%
The
agree.
PSG front three is Doué, Dembele, Barcola, Kvara, right? And we haven't even mentioned Kvara yet, right?
Yeah.
Like that guy is a beast. Like that guy he's getting in scrums at the end of the game. He's bringing the ball in the corner. He's playing defense. He's helping Nuno Mendes the entire game. They again just bring him in 5 months ago.
He nearly scored in the first half. He hit the post with a curling shot.
I mean, it's insane what this guy. He's an insanely good soccer player.
It's Kvaradonna, baby.
Everything well. There's no holes in that game at all. And he did not have a great first. He had a decent first leg, and he didn't have a good second leg against Villa. But he was really good in this match. I just want to make that point. And it's just very simply, Arsenal do not have a guy of his caliber. They just
Very few do. And that's why I think Arsenal, Liverpool, they were all looking for him. And, as we get ready to wrap up this show, Greyson, I'm going to turn to you. And I just saw this interesting comment from Luis Enrique after the match, since we're talking about some Premier League teams. Luis Enrique said, beating off 4 Premier League teams? Well, the League of Farmers, no? We are the League of Farmers. Any reaction to Luis Enrique kind of talking about that common criticism of the Ligue 1 and kind of turning it back like, hey, we beat 4 Premier League teams?
I would love to just like wholeheartedly get behind it and agree and be like, yes, this proves that this is not the case. However, I think there's some big like misconstruction about what that comment is actually like referring to.
Is it out of context?
No, not necessarily Luis Enrique's comment. More like this bullcrap thing of Ligue 1 being a farmers league. I think people think that means that, oh, if PSG's good, therefore it is not a farmers league. I think it's kind of the opposite is what people are going for. It's more PSG are too good, the league's not very good. Which, if you look at the league table this year, that idea is probably reinforced, but I don't think it's very true at all. I think there are several League One teams this year that are sensational. You think of, I'm not even going to say who's second because I think they're a terrible club with terrible players, and I hope they cease to exist. But your Monacos, your Strasbourgs, your Nices. I know Nice didn't do that well in Europe this year. They kind of just honed in on Ligue 1, but those are good teams. Like those, they are competing in Europe. Maybe Monaco got a little unlucky this year against Benfica, and Lyon did not as well as they should have against Dortmund. But those are no teams to stiff at. I think that the league is better than people are giving it credit for. It is a great stat that we beat all the Premier League teams. We lost to all of them except for Man City as well, and Arsenal, to be fair. We did lose to Villa and we did lose to Liverpool, but we were the better team over two legs in all of those matches. So I am glad to kind of pull one over on the Prem. They are by far the wealthiest league, the most well-covered league, due to English being, the most spoken language throughout the footballing world. But I do think that that idea of Farmers League is a little bit misused. I think people are more referring to there's no competition in Ligue 1, which is also a terrible idea to hold, considering Monaco got him one, and oh Lord, who was the other team that overtook us one year?
Was that
Slipping my
Lille, right?
mind.
Lille?
It was Lille. It was
Yeah.
absolutely Lille under Galtier.
Yeah.
Those were good teams. I mean, Monaco made a run to the semifinals just because not. I don't think the league is as good as the Premier League. I'm never going to make that claim due to current conditions, but I really do think that the Ligue 1 is better than people give it credit for. But I think people are finally waking up to the idea, wow, this PSG team is sensational. Best team in the world this year. We see that comment over and over again. We see Erling Haaland Snapchat stories. Every coach that we beat, every player that we play against, it's kind of like they sit back at the end of the game. They're not angry about it. They're just like, wow, we got beat by a better team today.
Mo Salah
and
said
that's a good
that
feeling.
PSG were the best team that they played.
Yeah, Ballon d'Or frontrunners are saying, wow, this team, there's nothing we could have done. It's almost inevitable that we got beat. And that is a feeling that I don't think I've felt as a fan, even in that 2021 season. It just feels good to be almost undisputed as the best team in the world. Obviously, Barca's sensational. Inter's a great team. But it feels like people have finally woken to the fact this is not a joke. This is not a drill. PSG is, if you're playing them, you should be terrified.
Should be terrified. And just real quick, at foot rankings, England are down to 3 clubs and can't win all 3 competition anymore. And France keep adding points and should stay a top 5 nation for years to come. So as we're talking about Farmers League and all that, France will stay in 5th. We'll be a top 5 league. So we don't have to worry about the Eredivisie or Portugal catching up to us anytime soon. So well done, all French teams. Mark, what were you going to say?
No, I just think the Farmers League thing is just, look, it's old. I think it's pretty obvious that good teams are good no matter what league they're in. And PSG has constructed a team that could play in any league and dominate and be probably the champions of most every league. So it's like this idea that like PSG couldn't compete I think the idea that they couldn't compete in other leagues because they don't get pushed enough in Ligue 1. I think that's, at least with this version of this team, has been proven to be a false narrative.
I think people say it when they get butt hurt about losing in the Champions League. That's what I would say anyway. Oh, well, they don't have any competition. Oh, they rest their guys.
Funny.
We rest our guys because we've built up a league beating good teams in Ligue 1. Well, I don't understand what's hard to follow about that.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. So for now, though, looking at the schedule, all eyes turn to Montpellier. Away at Montpellier on Saturday.
Are we really going to talk about Montpellier right now? I feel like I need to go on a nice little big picture rant here.
No. I was just letting people know that's the next game, but we're going to wrap up. I want final thoughts from you guys, so let's do that. Let's end the show with just final thoughts, big picture. Mark, the floor is yours. You go first.
Okay. Look. We were obviously around in 2020, right? We were obviously around when, PSG after during the pandemic went to Porto and played the Champions League knockout tournament, whatever they wanted to call it. and made the final, right? We were all in our homes. We were all, we were all wearing masks. We were
I
all
was
doing all that
scrubbing my
nonsense.
groceries, making sure,
Yeah, we were all
we were
doing that nonsense. And a reminder that they had 4 days, I think, 4 or 5 days in between the semifinal and the final. So we have much more time to enjoy it this time. And I feel like we've done it twice, but it almost feels like the first time, right? And this club has they've been so good this year. They've been so special. They turned it around after a really rough sort of start to the Champions League campaign. And this is an absolutely special group of people, right? And I hope that we get to watch this for many more years to come with this group of players, because it is absolutely been one of the coolest runs, I think, of any team that I follow as a fan. I was in high school and college when the Giants made their Super Bowl runs, when the Yankees won the World Series in 2009. Like, I've never seen the Knicks do it. I've never seen the Rangers do it. Like, this is one of those. It's a cool run. Enjoy it while you can. Enjoy it while you're in it. And we can maybe talk about Inter at another time. I almost feel like it's not even necessary at this point, because this was such a cool moment in that stadium with those fans. They got to enjoy it, and for one time, we're so used to PSG getting the rug pulled out from under them that this time it didn't happen. This time they found a way, right? That after all these years, it feels good. And I just, we just got to acknowledge that this is so big for this fan base, and for those fans that have been out there cheering and rooting for this team. What a moment. What a moment for the club. What a moment for the ownership, a moment for Campos and Enrique. And I'm really proud to be a fan today. It was an awesome, awesome, awesome night.
Very well said, Mark. Greyson, floor is yours.
At the beginning of the season, I honestly thought this is a rebuilding year. We lost our club's, top scorer in its history, and he was not an old guy. This was a guy who was at the top of his game. We brought in some young players. I thought João Neves was an excellent signing. Did I think he was going to slot in and just essentially replace a lot of the output defensively that Verratti used to put up? Didn't think that at all. When we signed William Pacho, did I think this guy's going to be competing for one of the best center backs in Europe? Didn't think that at all. I thought his Frankfurt, games were pretty good. I thought he was a good player. I did not think we would be challenging for a Champions League title this year. Call that pessimism. Maybe that's just trying to save myself, because in the Champions League every year it feels like a cartoon anvil is just going to fall on your head at the moment you least expect it. So I went into this season with extremely low expectations, and I felt like that was justified for the first few weeks of the Champions League. I mean, we were almost knocked out before the knockouts. How did we make it to here? I'll tell you how we made it. Luis Enrique did what I thought was not a very good idea, but that just shows you we're just yapping. We don't know what we're talking about. We played a false nine of Dembélé. Who would have thunk it? The guy turned into a monster. The team rallied around him. They also obviously played their very important roles, and we became the most dangerous team in the world after having trouble scoring all year long. I mean, there have been seasons where I've thought this team's perfectly set up to challenge deep in a knockout competition. This is not one of the years I thought it would happen. And so to see us we're one step away from the thing that PSG fans all over the world are dying to have, and that is the Champions League. We will no longer have to hear this in the comments of everything every time we win a league on. Well, they can't do it in the Champions League. If we win on May 31st, that is no longer being said. We will be a Champions League winner, and that's something every club strives for every year. We didn't get knocked out this year by some, Real Madrid voodoo, a bad call, an unlucky game, or a bad penalty. this year. It very well could be. I'd say that with some confidence, but also, some fear being a PSG fan all this time. This could be our year. This could be it. We've got to play a very good Inter Milan side in the final, and I think we could do it. I'm not going to steal your content for the next preview. I'm sure you want that. Keep those subscriptions rolling in.
Yes,
but
yes. We'll have you on next time.
Oh, fantastic! But I really think, why not? Why not us? We have been sensational ever since the knockouts and in the last little bit of the group stage. Why not this year? And we've done it playing in a fun, entertaining way. We're not watching Arsenal, Arteta, Haram ball every week. We're not watching Corner FC. It's great. We get to see a team that plays amazing, amazing football, these overlapping runs, the exciting front three. Like you said earlier, Mark, players that you really don't want taking shots, bang them in. Your fullbacks are scoring goals that most strikers couldn't dream to finish. It is terrifying, I imagine, to line up against a PSG squad where everybody in the team, why not? Let Donnarumma rip a shot next game. If everybody's shooting like this, what are you going to do to stop it? I wouldn't want to be tasked with figuring out a solution to stop right now the best team in the world.
I'd love a Donnarumma game-winning goal against Inter. That'd be great as a former AC Milan player for Donnarumma. And just real quick for me, I echo everything you guys said. Mark, I think very well said that enjoy this. You're in the moment. We don't know when it's going to happen again. I feel like this time it feels real. We clinched it at the Parc. We saw the fireworks and the fans. The fans were in the stadium. It just feels tangible. It feels real. It feels really good. I was singing the songs all the way, driving after the game, and it just feels real and it feels good. And PSG are doing it the right way, playing attractive football, signing the right players. And what I really have loved to see is the media. Covering this PSG team for so long, we've talked about it tons of times. The media is always getting on PSG. Oh, they just buy these players. They're doing it wrong. It just really negative about the team, but that is completely changed. I think it starts with Luis Enrique. He's just a great guy. How can you not love him as a manager, as a person? And then he's just built this really cohesive team. The energy in the team, they're cohesive. They get along. They root for each other. They play hard. They play for the badge. I think Nasser after the match was saying that these are players that give their all for the city. They would die on the pitch. Not quite literally, but you get his point that these guys really want to win this thing. And so I think we're doing it the right way. And it's just such a joy to watch. And it's been a joy to see the tide start to turn from the media and football fans in general, just saying like, this is a really good PSG team. They're really fun to watch. So I've just loved watching that. And so,
but I just want one little quick thing. I just want to
real quick, go for
it. I think you see what we got in front now, right? 2 more Ligue 1 games, whatever. You could play the ball boy in those 2. Coupe de France is the dress rehearsal, I would say. Not to poo-poo the Coupe de France, but it really is sort of the dress rehearsal for what we're going to have to do on the 31st. And the PSG are the only team that can win the treble, right?
That's correct. Inter lost.
It'd be the first non-domestic, fully domestic treble in their history, right? Obviously.
Yep. Yeah. First French treble ever.
Yeah. I mean, good Lord. There's a chance here for this to be the best team in the history of the club. And we say that often, but this is special stuff. And I just want to say we got some cool things coming for I'm obviously not going to give too much away, but we got some things coming here for the final. We're gonna cover the crap out of this thing. Let's just put it like that.
We're gonna try. We got something cooking. We'll see how people like it. But Mark had a great idea, and I was kind of thinking along the same lines. So stay tuned to these airwaves and on social media and everywhere else that we are. It's a good day to be a PSG fan. It's a good day if you're a Knicks fan too, Mark. Yeah. Just a great day. Just what a game. Unbelievable. I woke up this morning thinking just that pit in my stomach. I wanted it to go well, and so rarely does it go well, and it just feels so damn good to have it go your way and to celebrate. So, guys, thank you so much. We got Marc, Greyson, really appreciate it. You can follow them on X. You got at MarkDamon9, at GreysonLee39452. Make sure you give them a follow.
I got to get that sorted. That's a dreadful name.
We got to get you a better handle. Thank you guys out there for listening, subscribing as well. Really appreciate your support. We'll have a lot more on all things PSG, but until next time.
Au revoir for now.